Hey everybody, my name is Jared and I am a Master Mason in the state of Mississippi in the United States of America. And today's viewer's question is, I want to know if you can freely discuss politics, theories, and ideas with your brothers during a dinner. Could you tell me what is usually the topic in your lodge? Well, I think this question does a really good job of making the differentiation between dinner and lodge. In Mississippi, and I presume in most places in Freemasonry, specifically, two subjects are not discussed in lodge, that of politics and that of religion. Now, let me try to clarify the second just a little. We do have open prayer in lodge. We offer an opening prayer, we offer a closing prayer, we pray for the sick and afflicted, and many other things like that that inherently involve religion. But we don't teach religion. We don't discuss the theology differences between a Baptist and a Methodist and a Presbyterian or a Mormon or anything like that. So that's what we're talking about when we say that religion is not discussed. We're not going to discuss the theologies involved and whether or not one is correct or incorrect or more right or less right than another. And politics is just that big sticky ball of wax that we don't want to get anywhere near discussing inside of lodge. Now, the question you asked is about at dinner. At dinner, it's almost a no holds barred situation. We're going to talk about anything and everything you could possibly talk about. And it's interesting, after receiving this question, I took a little more effort to sit back at lodge and listen to the other discussions going around in the room and not just the one that I was involved in. In our lodge, we get about 20 people to show up to a dinner on average. And at that dinner, you can imagine there's basically collapsible or foldable church tables is what I call them, but I guess they're just long tables, like 6-person tables. And just set up in rows and in columns, and everybody takes a seat wherever they're comfortable. And generally speaking, people sit down with people who they know they have something in common with outside of lodge. So for example, one really close friend of mine has a small dairy goat farm, and I have my own little family farm where I raise all sorts of animals and gardens and things like that. And we're also both fairly decent computer geeks. And so we sit down and talk about everything from computers to what's happening on the farm or what's going on with our family and things like that. The next table down, we have some volunteer firefighters, and they might be talking about anything from the brush fire or the structure fire they had to fight earlier that day, or maybe they're talking about diving equipment for the search and rescue dive team that they're all a part of and what's involved with that. Or you might have the electricians talking about that, or you might have the older gentlemen just talking about whatever. I mean, and at any given time, the conversation in one little niche might somehow get picked up and expanded to 2 or 3 tables, and everybody starts talking about something. So the inevitable question is what about politics and what about religion? Well, I still think that in the dining hall, we all have a special reverence for religion. I have heard histories of religion discussed, but I have never heard anybody try to say anything about one particular theology over another particular theology or something like that. But I have certainly heard opinions of politics offered, and I am actually pretty proud to say I've heard positions on politics from just about any given direction. And that's a very special thing about lodge, is how we can be, in our lodge it's 2 stories, our dining hall is down below and our lodge room is upstairs, and how we can be downstairs and discuss all of these things, some of which could be confrontational in a way, but when we go upstairs, all of that stops. We're Freemasons there to work together in unity and to move the work forward. And I think that that's a very special thing that's very hard to find. too often, and I don't know if it's really fair to say too often today, because I think it was true throughout history, but too often people are very eager to find that difference one between another, and to have that be a point of contention, and to just keep rubbing that friction as much as they can until something breaks. Where in Lodge, when the friction is noticed, is when the conversation stops and we move on to something else. And in the Lodge room itself, that conversation with friction just doesn't even happen. So I think it's a very special thing. So can we freely discuss those things in the dining at dinner? Absolutely. We absolutely can. And I'm talking every kind of crazy topic that you could possibly imagine. I've heard the latest funny meme that was on Facebook discussed, the latest video that was out from the Queensland Grand Lodge. They put out some really amazing videos. So freemasonic topics, to what's happening in local politics, to changes at work, family matters, and just general jokes. It's just a good time. We have a lot of good fun fellowshipping at our dinners. But once we go up into the lodge room, it is strictly business. And as far as a general topic in lodge, I think you were still asking about down in the dining hall. But as far as topics up in lodge we're discussing things about the general welfare of our brothers and their families, the widows of our brothers who have passed away. We're talking about charitable work that we can do around our community. We're talking about our brothers and how we can help individuals advance. So for example, entered apprentices that might be trying to find somebody to study with, what are their schedules and who would be available to study with them. In our lodge right now, a very big conversation has been the fact that our building is 150 years old and we're doing a lot of maintenance work to the structure, and so there's a lot of discussion involving that. So those are the kind of things we talk about outside of ritual work in Freemasonry. There's a tremendous amount of studying and working to be more proficient in the ceremonial work of Freemasonry. But other than that, the business topics are the things that I've already covered. I hope that gives you some information. If there's anything that you would like to share about what is generally discussed in your lodge, I think that would be a fun thing to talk about. So leave them down in the comments below. I'll tell you one thing is that here you cannot have alcohol in the building. There's no beer with dinner or something like that. And yet I've seen videos from other countries where beer with dinner is just like beer with dinner at the house. It's not a problem. So there's little nuances like that. So since there's differences with something as simple as what beverage is allowed to have with your meal, I'm curious to know what other kind of differences there might be. Maybe your lodge strictly forbids politics and religion from anywhere inside the building. So let me know that down in the comments below. If you have any other questions, leave those down there too. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the video, and we'll see you next time.